It's loading. Okay. All right. Well, let's just go ahead and start with hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Work has been very busy for me recently, so it's kind of nice to do this and relax and just have a nice chat. So yeah,
Oh,
can't
good.
complain too much.
Good. I'm glad that you're seeing this as a relaxing and it doesn't like stress you out or anything to
Oh
just
no,
sit and chat.
sitting
Cool. Yeah,
talking, that's nothing.
it's it's the best part of YouTube and this platform is just being able to talk with people.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so the first thing I want to talk about has nothing to do with books. It's actually
Okay.
that you have a strongman competition coming up.
Oh yes, I do.
What is that like with the nerves and everything? Because 'Cause you've done it before, right?
Yeah, so this will be my third competition. The nerves are an interesting thing.
Mhm.
Normally, like they're there for a little bit, but normally once you start, they kind of go away. If there's like a specific event I'm a little bit more nervous for than another. Like, it's there a little bit, but for the most part, it's one of those things where it's like all the work has been done. You've put in all your training and everything through the preparation, and it's like now it's just time to go out and execute. And sometimes that means everything goes great, and other times, it doesn't, and that's okay as well. But yeah, for the most part, I'll definitely be nervous.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty normal thing, and I can definitely be somebody who I'll doubt myself a little bit, and then it's not until the moment I'm actually doing it that I'm kind of like, okay, I can actually do this for
Yeah,
sure.
I definitely have felt that too. So I've been a part of a couple different sport type competitions throughout my life. Like I've played volleyball and softball and things like that. But
Mhm.
once I was in the Marine Corps, and then I had gotten wounded, so I went to what's called Wounded Warrior Battalion. And there I learned about a competition that is specifically for wounded, ill, and injured veterans in active duty. And we
Okay.
do all sorts of stuff. So, like, there's lifting involved, but you don't use your legs. So
Okay.
you have to have your legs like tied up on the um, why am I forgetting? It was on the bench, and so yeah, it's only bench press for that.
Okay.
And then archery, shooting, those are the ones that I did. I also did rowing. Rowing is terrible, and it's just a
It is.
machine. It's not like
Yeah. Yeah. Those rowing machines are not fun.
the first time I ever did it, it was a 4-minute competition, then a 1-minute competition, and then a 1-minute team competition.
Okay.
And in the 4 minutes when I was doing it, I was probably like 3 minutes, and my legs stopped moving. My coaches were like, "Move your legs," and I'm like, "I can't. I don't
It's
know
not
how anymore."
happening. Yeah.
I had to have people come over and, like, grab me because my legs are like
Yep. Yeah.
So, I did wanna ask what you got you into the strongman competitions?
Yeah, so I played football like a lot of people do, and all the way up into high school, and I had some opportunities to play at like small colleges, and I decided not to do that. But that's where like the lifting and stuff kind of started. And then I went to college, and actually the first year I was in college, I like didn't work out at all. And then I can remember the summer after my freshman year, I like looked in the mirror and was like, "Oh my gosh, you have got to." I had lost a bunch of weight. I was like really small and skinny, and I was like, "Okay, you've got to get back to lifting and everything." And that's where that started. And I kind of got really more into like bodybuilding and stuff for a long period of time. And actually, for a long time, I just had no idea what I was even doing. I was just like going in and like lifting weights, which was better than nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a part of the process, I think,
yeah.
'cause I had a weightlifting I don't wanna call it a phase, but I wanna call it a phase at the same time
Hmm.
because I was not being honest with myself, and this was well, before and after my injuries. So after my injuries, I wasn't being honest with myself and being like, "You know what, Noelle, like, you cannot do this stuff that you used to be able to do, like,
Hmm.
pre-injury." But yeah, I was all over YouTube. I had a YouTube channel actually on weightlifting with
Okay.
injuries and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
But that has since died.
Okay.
But it was fun while it lasted, and now I'm stepped away from all that stuff and just started doing Pilates, which I
Okay.
don't know if you've ever tried, but it
I
is very
haven't.
much full body, like, your weaknesses are right there on the table, like, it will
Yeah.
not hide anything from you. I had a hard time walking up the stairs to get to my office.
I've
Like,
heard I've heard it can be pretty intense on the Pilates side,
it
so
it can. There's, like, all sorts of stuff, with Pilates, like, it's not just the reformer, like, sometimes they combine, like, today we did weightlifting first, and then we
okay,
went on the reformer,
okay.
and that was yeah, I, like, went way too hard because I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can do this," and, I don't know what I was thinking. Um, so for the strongman competition, because I 'cause I'm still super interested in weightlifting,
Mhm,
I just can't really do it as much anymore,
sure.
but are you doing specific movements, or are you doing, like, the crazy ones where it's like, "Lift this gigantic iron log," and, like,
Yeah. So that
no?
is so every strongman competition is going to be different. That's one of the things that
Yeah.
I actually like about it.
Mhm.
Because I did do some powerlifting and stuff, and I got kind of bored of that rather quickly because it's the same, three
That's
things over
fair.
and over again.
Mhm.
And so yeah, the strongman stuff it's every competition is different. It's probably never going to be the same set of events. Obviously, there are definitely some that carry over more than others. Like there are some staples, like the log that you were mentioning.
Yeah.
That's like a pretty common one. That was in my first two competitions. There was some kind of log in it. And so it just kind of depends. Like this one doesn't have a log in it, but
Mm.
it is something that, yeah, I do train log and
Yeah.
all of those weird implements as much as I can. I'm pretty lucky in that I have a gym that has a lot of the equipment for it. So I have
That is
a bunch of
really
stuff to
cool.
mess around with.
Yeah. I cannot imagine that my town has something like that. But,
It's a little bit more common now than you would think, because a lot of CrossFit places have some strongman
I
stuff
didn't think
now.
about CrossFit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because CrossFit is like, uh, what's the nice way to say it? The
Insane?
no, it's the a lot of times it's a little bit more of the like people call it like baby strongman, which feels a little bit rude, but it has they both have very similar elements. Other than like CrossFit ends up having a lot more repetitions and kinds of things, like to be like fit is what
Yeah.
CrossFit likes to say it. But like the company that is like big in strongman and CrossFit is Rogue, and they make stuff
Oh,
for
yeah.
both of them. So a lot of those things have kind of started to blend together. Like before Rogue and CrossFit and stuff, most places would never have a yoke, which is like a thing you carry on your back. But now I think if you go to pretty much any CrossFit gym, like or
A
a lot of
yoke.
CrossFit gyms would have stuff like a yoke
I've never heard of
or
that.
sandbags and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely had to use sandbags in the Marine Corps, but we had to make them.
No, yeah,
Duct
I'm
tape
sure.
and trash bag with sand,
Yeah.
and we had Atlas packs
Okay,
with,
so like the
I don't know if that's like a yoke. I've
so a
never
yoke is it's like it almost looks like a rack, but it's
Mhm.
not mounted to anything, and it has like a really thick cross member, and it's something that you put plates on, pick it up on your back, and like walk with it.
Okay, yeah, so it's very similar because you put an
Okay.
Atlas pack on like a backpack, and then there's like a peg, and then you put the
Okay.
weight on it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
very
There's no
similar.
there's no backpack for the yoke, but it's just like a
You're
cross
just
member.
carrying it.
It's almost like a squat bar that has like two things come down the side of it, so it's all free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I had asked in one of your I think it was your live stream, are you from North Carolina, or are you just living in North Carolina?
So I'm not originally from North Carolina. No, I am originally
Okay, me
from
neither.
near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I have some family there.
Okay.
I am from Florida and
Okay.
then lived in California for 5 years 'cause of the Marine Corps,
Okay.
and then now I'm in North Carolina. So
Oh, okay. Nice.
it's
Okay.
it's a I like being on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the West Coast?
Yeah, I have been. Yep. I've been to I was in California for like a day. The first time I went to Vegas, we drove out to California and spent like the day out there. But I also lived in Florida, funny enough. So,
Oh,
yeah.
where at?
In Tampa.
Tampa, okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am from the Panhandle,
Okay.
so, um, yeah, not the best place to be. Not the worst place to be, but not the best place to be.
Sure, yeah.
Definitely would not want to move back,
Yeah, I would not either.
anytime ever.
Yeah.
So The weather's a lot better here. I like the 4 seasons
You
that
know, it's
that
funny.
we get.
People will like talk about Florida weather, and I'm like, you don't understand. It's just like hot or like really hot for the most
Yeah,
part. It's
yeah,
not like it's not that it's not nice, especially if you're like at the beach and all that stuff, but like just living day to day in that weather is absolutely miserable, you know?
you go outside and it feels like you're swimming or that
Mhm.
mugginess
Yo,
outside.
feels yeah, it's
Anytime you
thick.
step outside, you have to shower when you go
Yep.
back inside.
Yep.
The sun hits different over there.
It
Like,
absolutely.
I remember and I totally forgot about it until one of my friends was talking about it, who's also from Florida. Our eyes would burn
Yeah.
with how hot it was.
It would be miserable, and it's just so hot. I can
Yeah,
like you said, I can remember, the houses are they squeeze them in, right? And I can remember like you run next door to your neighbor's house and back, and it's like, well, I guess I got to shower now because
yeah,
it's
exactly,
just miserable. So,
exactly. You literally go to your mailbox and you're like, "Well, I had a
yep,
shower."
exactly.
Yeah, it was
And that's
actually like
before the
that.
snakes and the bugs and the mosquitoes. Those mosquitoes are different down there.
I took California's, like, living there, they had, like, 0 bugs.
Yeah.
You could leave your windows open all the time with the netting and whatever. Here at my house, I have opened the windows and have had 2 wasps fly in within the past, like, month,
Oh
and I'm like,
man,
"It's
yeah.
not even hot enough for wasps yet," and they were
Right.
gigantic.
Oh man.
Actually, in my video, I have very embarrassing footage of me when I found the wasp, and I'm literally like so I'm, like, I was talking about Valor,
Okay.
and I'm trying to talk about the book, and I'm like,
You're just
"Alright,
staring
guys,
at
I got this."
it.
And then I killed it, and then I, like, made a very inhuman noise when I killed it because I thought it was still alive and I missed.
No.
But I have 4 cats and they're not doing their job,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't want them to mess with a wasp anyway, so
No.
but Florida, I mean, the cockroaches are crazy over there, they're gigantic, they fly,
Yep.
they're everywhere.
They are.
Snakes are also everywhere. I was just chilling in my grandma's yard one day doing yard work with her, and she was in the suburbs, like, yeah, I guess
Mhm.
she was next to some woods, and this gigantic garden snake slithers over my foot when I'm, like,
Yeah.
5 years old, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then I
Absolutely.
had
Yeah.
that was the end of yard work for
Yeah.
me that day.
Yeah.
So I did wanna ask a more personal question, and that was, when was the last time that you felt proud of yourself?
Ooh, that is a good question.
It's a hard one.
I feel like I have a cheat code because there are some things that I've done in training for this competition that I've been pretty happy with. So like that's kind of like a pretty big cheat where I can just say some of the like the PRs I've hit on this prep for this competition. So
Yeah.
I guess probably within like the last week or yeah, like last was that this week I did that? I guess yeah, on Monday I did something and it was the best it had felt in my training for it, and so yeah, that I'll go on Monday actually. Funny enough.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
hitting a new PR is it's just a feeling that it's like it's like all the work that I've been doing, like, I've
yeah,
actually been improving.
yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
definitely have understood that. Is your girlfriend coming with you to your competition?
Yeah, yep, she'll be there. Yeah,
Awesome. That's
yeah.
so exciting.
So it's she didn't get to come to my first one because she had to work,
Mm,
but she's come to my other one that I did as well. So yeah, but she'll be there, uh, and yeah, it'll be fun.
awesome. So there was well, going on the same topic, do you have a video that you're most proud of, or maybe the one that you had the most fun making, or maybe they're 2 different ones? I don't know.
Yeah, so I always think back to I it's one of my like earliest videos too, and I haven't gone back and watched it and since I like made it, but I have a video for Tiamat's Wrath, which is book 8 of The Expanse, which is my second favorite book of all time. And it was like the first video that I made where I was just like it was completely spoiler because I just needed to like talk about how awesome this book was. And
Understand.
so that one is still one that kind of like sticks in my mind of like I love that video just because it's like
Oh,
pure
yeah.
just like book vomit of me just like being super excited about this book. And it was also still like I said, one of my earliest videos, and the fact that that is still one that sticks with me. That one's always kind of in my head a little bit. Yeah.
I love that. So what's
Yeah.
your first favorite then?
My favorite book is Death's End, which is the third book in the three body problem.
Okay, yeah, I have heard you talk about that one.
Yeah.
I I have not read The Three Body Problem. That's a sci-fi, right?
It is sci-fi, and it's like a people would consider it like a hard sci-fi. So it definitely has a lot of like hard science where like there are definitely points in it where it's like talking about like theoretical stuff that is maybe a little dry and boring to some people, and I totally get why like you don't like you wouldn't want to read some of it. And
Mhm.
I've read a couple of sci-fi books that are kind of like that, but yeah, Death's End is just one. It's like that series is so expansive and just really explores a lot of things that at the time it's not something a lot of things I had ever considered, and so it
Yeah.
was just a super cool experience to get through all of that.
Do you have a good pitch for that series? Because it's one that I've heard a lot about, but I feel like I haven't heard a pitch that's like, "Okay, that makes me wanna read this book."
So the pitch for it for me, and it's really just like this is a series that made me rethink of how I look at the universe and our place in it, and that's normally kind of what I say because that is how I feel about it. I think that's my like super basic pitch.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's yeah, short and sweet, right to the
yep,
point.
yep. Now obviously like it is to me it is a little bit of a hard series to recommend, even though I love it because
Mhm.
like the characters can be a little bit dry. It is a translated work from Chinese, so I think there's some stuff
Yeah.
there. There's definitely some like references and cultural stuff that are there's no way we're ever going to fully get the impact of it, just not being somebody from China.
Yeah,
And people
unless you
do
learn
like the
Chinese.
right, yeah. Well, and even then, like there's going to be stuff of which like unless you lived in China and like got to experience the culture, like there's still just going to be certain things that you miss. And then also, people like to point out that maybe the characters aren't the most fleshed out things, that they're really stand-ins for ideas. And I push back on that a little bit. I think while it's true, people act like there's no characters worth anything in
Mhm.
it, and
Yeah.
I disagree with that some. But so it can be a little bit of a hard book or series to recommend in general. But I do think if you're willing to kind of just like let these ideas be explored while you're reading it, it's a really enjoyable time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that there is a time and a place to have characters that I wouldn't say, like, aren't fully fleshed out or something like that, but there's a time and a place to have characters that are more stand-ins for an idea. I feel
Yep.
like especially in sci-fi, I feel like in fantasy that won't, like, fly as much or really in any other work, but I feel like sci-fi is the one place where
Yeah.
that sort of idea works
Yeah,
for
that's an
the genre.
interesting thing with sci-fi where there's I think, there are plenty of examples where you can just kind of be like, this character is this, or not even, it doesn't even have to necessarily be one character, but this group of characters is the exploration of this idea, whether it be like the human condition or this scientific idea, how people would react in this very niche scientific advancement, like those kinds of things. And it is kind of an interesting like way that that genre has produced work compared to like I because I do feel like fantasy a lot of times is either very magic focused or very character focused. And I mean, obviously the blend is what a lot of people really end up wanting, even when they say they're like, I'm here for the characters. It's like for the most part, but like if the world and magic probably sucked also, maybe you wouldn't care as much. But it is an interesting kind of thing where like you could there are sci-fi books that I have read where I don't even remember a single character's name, but I understand like the stand-in that they were trying to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, and that's probably part of the author's intent too. I'm
Oh, for
terrible
sure.
with names, so, like, that's for sure
I'm
me.
not the best
So
either.
yeah, I I actually like, when I'm typing, I don't know if, like, it's okay. I call your girlfriend the Lady Orange because I think
Yeah,
it's, like,
that's
a
no,
cute
that's
little
fine. Yeah.
okay, 'cause
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever said her name or if I just don't remember it.
Um, I don't know if I have ever said her name, actually,
I don't know
funny
if she
enough.
even said her name in the
I
Fourth Wing video.
probably not. I don't we probably just jumped right into it. I think you're right. So, yeah. Um,
That's so funny. That was a great
yeah.
video, by the way, and I
Oh,
did tell you that I was
that
listening to
was
the
a
audiobook of it.
Oh, you are right now? Oh,
Yeah,
uh,
so I'm listening to the graphic audio.
I've heard it's better than just the regular audiobook.
I
So,
think that that's probably a fair opinion of, like, just graphic audio in general
okay.
versus regular audio because there's the sounds in the background and you have
See, I hate that.
music and you say you hate it?
I hate the I have tried graphic audios, and it's not like I can't get through it, but I way prefer. Like I don't even really like when a book has like multiple people reading a book. Like if there's more than like
Hmm,
two people, like with Wheel of Time, you have Michael Kramer and Kate Redding doing,
yeah.
you know, uh, anything more than that, and it kind of starts to bother me a little bit. Funny enough, I prefer just
Huh.
kind of like the one or two voices all the way through.
Do you feel like you're, like, losing the plot or something
You know,
when
I don't know. It's because one of the graphic audios I did, and this definitely isn't the best example, is the White Sands stuff from
okay,
Brandon Sanderson, which, in general, I think those are pretty looked down upon works from
for
Sanderson.
sure, yeah,
But I don't know. There's
comparatively.
just something about it where it's like I don't want to hear what's good. I don't want to hear people's footsteps while I'm like going through the story. I just want to like, I
Okay,
just want the story. I guess it's the best way to like, yeah.
okay.
It's not that
Do
like I can follow it fine and everything. There's just something about it that is not my not my jam.
yeah. Do certain sounds, like, make you upset?
No, I wouldn't say that. There are definitely
Uh,
like there's one I guess you would call it a series. It's an Audible exclusive. It's called Impact Winter. And in the second season is what they call of that, is there was some like very wet, gross kissing noises in it. And it was just like it was just like not pleasant to listen to. It's like, somebody chewing
yeah,
right in your ear. It's like I don't want to
that's
I just,
yeah,
I don't want to hear any of that. And
no,
so yeah.
never.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I I have OCD, so, like, sounds really make me upset, and that's why I asked because I was
Okay.
like, "Oh, okay, I totally get that," because I yeah, that you described, I have my guilty pleasure show of Love Island,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
man, there are so many times that I'm hearing them crunch on something or I'm hearing them
Uh,
kiss each other, and I'm like, "Nobody wants to hear that, ever."
yeah.
I don't know why this is going on for so long. There's no music in the background, there's
Oh
nothing
God.
else. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
That's also what scares me for the graphic audio Fourth Wing. I don't know if I'm gonna continue just because I am doing a lot of other things in my life, and it's not bad, which I did go into it with a negative outlook.
Hmm.
But as I was listening to it, I'm like, "Oh, okay, like, this is not what I was expecting it to be," and I expected it to be a lot, more poorly written,
Yeah.
and there are definitely I think the writing is fine. I would say it's okay,
Yeah. I
and the
mean, it's
only
nothing
thing that
special, but like
no,
it's not offensively bad either,
no,
like
no,
it's yeah.
unless our main character is talking about a guy. That is when it's very cringy, and as I'm listening to this, I'm like, "You know what? I think I would actually like Fourth Wing if it was YA and more similar to Harry Potter, where there's very light themes of romance versus she's literally about to die, and she's like, "That
Yeah,
guy looks
exactly.
so good right now," and
Right.
I'm
Yeah. Uh,
he you guys are, like, fighting to the death, like, are
yeah.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, what
No, I
happened
completely agree.
to like, when you get to know somebody and you're like, "Oh, I perceive them to be attractive," and then they have a terrible personality, you're like, "Yeah, they are not what I
Right.
thought."
Right.
And I'm surprised that that is not the way that she goes about things. Um,
Yeah.
but it's whatever. I don't know if I will continue, but I am like I'm almost done. It's a two-part graphic audio.
Okay.
One thing that bothers me about one of the voices is her sister's voice. I am pretty sure is a robot, like an AI,
Like an AI.
because
Okay.
of the way it sounds. Unless this person was going for a robotic voice, I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's like you typed in Google Translate and pressed the
Just
sound button on
let
the
it read it
English.
out.
Yeah,
Mm,
horrible. But
yeah.
everyone else is fine. So I'm like,
Okay.
"Why would you have, like, 1?
Just the one. Yeah.
Just the 1." Um, And then I did want to make a comment about the mother of the story.
Okay.
And this is because um, there was something with the writing that didn't make any sense to me, and maybe you can offer some more input on it
Okay.
because I haven't finished it, but this is not a spoiler or anything like that. But the mom is talking to the sister into Violet, and she's already really hard on her and everything, and then there's some sort of discussion that something the sister says, and the mom is like, "Well, Vi deals with more pain than you could ever think of, like, blah, blah, blah." But I'm like,
Mhm.
why would the mom say that when everything else she says is so contrary to her actually believing that? Or should she just say that to give Vi some confidence to, make her go into the, writer's quadrant or whatever?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's like a really good answer other than like they
Or if the author just wanted to say it.
yeah, I think so. I think if I remember correctly, the author actually has EDS.
Yeah,
And so my guess is that it's just a way to early establish that, Violet has something
yeah,
going on that, makes her, have, kind of constant pain and stuff. That's my one guess.
yeah,
It's one of the ways to like introduce that because that's like the first chapter or something, right?
yeah,
That
yeah,
probably happens. So my guess is like that's just a way to like make it, come up early.
yeah. I feel like it definitely could have been better done. And the only reason I'm talking about it is because I deal with similar things.
Hmm.
I'm actually going to go get tested to see if I have that same condition
Okay.
soon, but I've been dealing with, like, chronic pain for the past 5 years and
Hmm.
trying to figure out, like, what is the cause of this other than, like, the Marine Corps and, the difficult training that came with that, um but yeah, so I did wanna talk about the style of videos that you have
Okay.
and how I really enjoy your style because it is you, Beltube, Mike, John, Philip. It's the rise of a sit at a bar or a coffee shop with a friend and, like, talk to each other about books,
Mhm.
and I feel like that really helped change the way that I wanted to do my channel as well because I was doing a little bit more of I don't know, more cuts and more things like this, and, like, I'm not having a good time doing all this,
Uh-huh.
but I love that the sit down type of video is it feels a lot more genuine, and I just love that sort of content because it's so calming and it's so natural
Mhm.
versus, like, you're, cutting and you're in this location, then you're in this location, and then there's big words on the screen and stuff like that, like, I don't like
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, no, so with that being said, it is so personal, and I feel like with Booktube specifically, it's like you're selling yourself,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
your channel is all about you talking about books. How have you had, like, doubts and things like that when you first started or, how have things kind of changed?
Yeah, not really. The biggest change has really been I used to do like a solo review for every single book that I read. And I did that for like almost a solid 2 years completely. And then it just kind of got to the point where I just was like I don't want there's not every book I read it has enough to it that I want to like talk about it individually in a video. And I just kind of had a well, you could still do it because it's still like another video, but I was like, if I'm not like passionate enough about to like want to talk about it, it just felt kind of weird. And
Yeah,
I would find myself like sitting there like trying to think of things that I wanted to say about it more than just like my basic like paragraph of like, hey, I liked it. I thought the characters were good because of X, Y. Like, I didn't want to just like make a video that's full of like filler and junk.
yeah,
And also I also realized that like there are some series that I'm reading where it's like it's really hard to talk about book 6 of a 12 book series without doing spoilers. And
yeah,
then, so I kind of was like, and that's where my, I went the weekly update route, uh, so
yeah,
that I can still talk about everything that I'm reading, but individually, it's not every single book gets its own like 10-minute long video or anything. Not that I ever tried to like aim for a specific time or something that I felt like I needed to meet, I would say what I wanted to say for the most part, but it just started to feel a slightly soulless. And I don't know if some of that
Yeah,
was just wasn't reading stuff that was like as great at the time. And if I read
that's
like a
fair.
bunch of stuff that was awesome back to back to back, I'd probably do a bunch of reviews back to back to back. But that just isn't
Yeah.
what was happening.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely respect that and was going to ask about the weekly update because I feel like that's also a more popular sort of content. And that sort of content scares me to do because
Okay.
I'm like, I read so slow. And I, for the most part, I don't do audiobooks, but I have started to. And I actually really do like it. I was very surprised by it. And I will get more into that topic later because I remember you talked with, I can't remember if it was Philip or someone else. I think it was Philip, but we'll get back to that. Um, but yeah, I have you ever felt like in your weekly updates, like, oh, I don't know what to talk about this week, or
Um, Not too much actually, and I thought that was going to happen when these past couple weeks. It took me forever to read House of Chains, and so like I didn't
yeah,
really have like a super big update for like 2 or 3 weeks on it. But I also just had enough other stuff kind of going on, whether it was stuff I was watching or other things, because I kind of do like a whole, very similar to like the Mike, how he
yeah,
does it, where
yeah,
it's not just books and stuff, but also it just gives me an opportunity to talk to people, right? Because
for
like you
sure.
said, especially in booktube and stuff, it is very much more of a personality driven. Then obviously there are going to people who are just Googling Wind and Truth review, and that'll
Yeah,
be it, that'll be the end of it. But as you get more and more people who come back regularly, I like to hear about, like, there are definitely people in the comments who I recognize, and so when they tell me that
yeah,
are reading this, I want them to come back and I want to hear what they thought about books, and I specifically tell them that in the comments and stuff. And so I think the weekly update also just gives you a little bit more of that personality, where the
mm,
review is very much like, here's a book, this is what I thought about it, and you probably get to understand my taste and stuff with reading, but
yeah,
the personality definitely isn't there the same way as in a weekly update when I ramble on about Steelers football for 50 minutes. You just get a little bit more of that going.
yeah, yeah. I think you do a great job at making it still very entertaining because I have kept up with the weekly updates for a while now. And it's something that I've also been interested in doing, but sometimes I just worry like, "Oh, maybe I don't have enough because I do read so slow and I'm full-time in school." So it's like, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, hey, I read a chapter of Ruin, and I watched absolutely nothing except for some episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine with my husband, and I've read a lot of Spanish literature from the 1300s. Okay,
Uh-huh.
bye."
But
Like,
I'm sure there would be people who would be interested in hearing about what you've got going on in school. It's not like you necessarily have to completely keep that separate. I mean, depending
that's
on how much
true.
you wanted to share, obviously, but um, like the weekly updates, while yes, it's definitely for me like book focused first, because that's why it's the
Yeah,
first and biggest section. Like, I don't mind mentioning other things that are going on, in them. I think
yeah.
people like it, honestly.
Yeah, I do, as a constant viewer, yeah, I enjoy that from you, I enjoy that from Mike, like, I enjoy Mike talking about his family and his wife and, like, what they're getting up to, and
Yeah.
it is kind of like I mean, it's just that community, and it feels a little weird, it feels a little parasocial, but
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, the parasocial thing is 100% real, but
yeah,
I don't like, I think there's definitely a line where that can become toxic and bad for sure. But I
yeah,
think like for the like, it's okay to like,
it's not
it's not any
negative if you
different.
don't make
No,
it.
right. And it's
Yeah,
not any different than people who like are super into like celebrities. If anything,
yeah,
the celebrity stuff is way worse to me, because at least with like, especially like the smaller channels who aren't getting 10,000 comments a day, most of
yeah,
us all respond to everybody. So like, you're at
yeah,
least getting some kind of like interaction back. It's not
for
like,
sure.
I mean, if you're obsessed with like Tom Holland and Zendaya, like, they're never even going to know you exist,
Mhm.
probably, right? And so if you have a little bit of a parasocial relationship with somebody you like on YouTube, like, as long as you don't take it too far, you'll be. I
Yeah.
don't think there's obviously a line somewhere. I don't know where it is,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah,
it's somewhere. But I don't think it's that big of a deal.
yeah, I have recently gotten into K-pop, and so I
Okay.
definitely so what kinda got me into it is the variety shows that they do.
Okay.
So I follow a group called 17, and I
Okay.
follow Stray Kids, and they have these variety shows that are so funny, and it feels like you know them when you're watching, but you're
Yeah.
like, "I don't know them at all, actually."
Of
Like, I
yeah.
know how they present themselves on these shows,
Of
and then
course. Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why that just made me think of that. So back to reading and audiobooks, you talked to Philip about your, um, journey of reading throughout the years and how you actually grew up dyslexic.
Mhm. Yep.
Did you want to talk about that at all, your
Yeah,
journey, and
absolutely.
maybe some encouragement for other people who are dealing with the same thing?
Yeah, so, the quick story of it is grew up, obviously had trouble learning how to read, and, spelling was always extremely difficult. Come to find out I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
Uh, it was bad enough that my parents took me to like an after school program thing to like help you learn. And, I'm sure most people are familiar with this kind of things. And they told my parents that if they didn't sign me up and bring me there like every day, that I wouldn't even be able to graduate high school. And obviously, we did not sign up for that.
Yeah.
And obviously, I graduated college, so I think it turned out okay.
Yeah.
But that was definitely something I had to work on. I was pulled out of like regular classes and some opportunities that like everybody got, I didn't get to do because I was being pulled out to like get supplemental reading help and these kinds of things. And so like that was like the early journey of that. And obviously, as a kid, it's kind of difficult when you're like, no, I want to also be able to go play the violin with everybody
Mhm.
else. I don't want to sit here and try to do something that's hard also, right? Like, especially for
Yeah.
as like a kid, I didn't like it because it was hard already. And then to like not get to have other opportunities that everyone else was getting to do, it was definitely not the easiest thing as a kid, but it got like, it's not like dyslexia is something that goes away. I'm still
Yeah.
dyslexic.
Yeah.
You just get better at like coping with it.
Yeah.
And that obviously has happened. But yeah, so that was kind of like that early bit. And I think it actually had the effect of it did end up making me a reader because as I got better at it, I could do it. And I also
Yeah.
felt like it was almost something I had to do. And the reading and stuff was kind of just like repeatedly like doing it over and over again. I think it had the inverse effect of making me a reader, where I'm sure a lot of people who go through something similar shy away from it much
Yeah.
more than I did.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll tell you, it's my sister, but for you to say, I grew up with a family member who struggled with dyslexia, and I remember them getting, a tutor, after school and everything like that, but always struggled, continued to struggle, and didn't necessarily graduate high school because they didn't pass their reading exam, if Florida's done whatever. And so they just have a, certificate of completion of high school, but not the so
Mm.
I feel like you have a very underdog story there where you persevered and kept pushing and you're like you look at this weakness and you're like, "This is something I'm bad at. Okay, I'll take this and I'll try my best to get better at it."
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely have to give credit to like my parents. I was
Yeah.
very lucky that I can still remember some of my early memories are like sitting at the table trying to do homework and things that should not be difficult, especially at the age
Yeah.
that I was at the time. I can remember I had different spelling tests in elementary school than everybody else. So like I would have easier words to try to spell,
Mm,
things like that. But like I said, I have to be very thankful to my parents. And then also I don't know how I got lucky to have great teachers, especially in
yeah.
elementary school when like this was more prevalent for me. Because by the time I got to middle school ish is when things started to get a little bit better. But
Okay.
like I had great teachers at a very young age that definitely helped with a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I have some teachers that are so foundational to, like, help me to be who I am, especially high
Yeah.
school. I did the NJROTC program, and
Okay.
so the instructors there were, like, my mentors in life, and funnily enough, my carpentry teacher was also just a big, influence in my life, and yeah, just some great mentors, great people, and I love that teachers can do that,
Yeah.
and I think that it's such an important profession, and I wish I had the patience for it, but I don't.
Yeah, in a different life, I would be a teacher.
Right.
I always joke that if I won the lottery, I would retire and be a teacher. Not that teaching is a retirement job, but the only
I get what
reason
you're saying, it's
you
hard to make
see,
a living, though,
yeah,
unfortunately.
I there are like not that I it's not that I don't like what I do for work right now or that I'm interested in it, but like if money wasn't an object, I don't think I'd be doing the job that I'm currently doing, you know. So I made that decision going into college that it was like, okay, I could go and do something like be a teacher, which would probably fulfill my soul a little bit more.
Mm,
But if I'm going to work, I'm going to do it and try to at least make a good living from it. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's understandable. What do you
which is
do now?
sad that that's like
It's
the choice you have to make kind of, but like, and I have friends who are
big
teachers and they're doing
sacrifices.
fine, but like, yeah. So right now, I'm kind of like a DevOps engineer, site reliability engineer kind of thing. So
Okay,
computer stuff.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so tech stuff.
Yes, and
Um,
like I said, it's not that I'm not into tech. I am. I very
yeah,
much do enjoy it, but there's a different kind of burden in a job like that versus where I feel like being a teacher can be very fulfilling in a different way. Like I think about like a
yeah,
teacher like if I were a teacher and heard what I just said about the teachers I had in elementary school, like that's a different thing than being told you did really good on a project at work, right? Like that's like
100%.
there's levels to it and everything for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like, mm, I don't know the words for it. I wanna say how you're orientated to, like, if you're family orientated, you're, like, orientated to the changing of lives in a more emotional, impactful way versus, um, your own ability to do something well,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's different types of personalities. I feel like I definitely relate to that because I joined the Marine Corps, and now I'm studying Spanish because I wanna be a translator,
Oh,
because I
nice.
wanna help people, you
Yeah.
know? And, unfortunately, the opportunity here in North Carolina for Spanish linguists is not very good. So,
Oh, yeah.
hopefully that will change somehow in the next couple years for when I graduate, because I decided to go to college after the Marine
Mhm.
Corps. Um, but yeah, actually, I'm medically retired, and it was, like, the day I medically retired, the day after that, I finished my 1st semester of college.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was a crazy turnaround. I don't
Yeah.
know what I was doing, but yeah. Random question for you. No, backtrack. Let me go back to, I do feel for you when it comes to the dyslexia and things like that. So I mentioned that I have OCD, and I will tend to focus too much on the details of the story.
Okay.
And that is why I read so slow, is
Mm,
because
okay.
I'm like, "Okay, I need to make sure that I know which side of the barn Geralt is on and which
Mm,
way he's swinging his sword." And it's just like, I wanna make sure I'm getting all of the details,
mhm,
and I think maybe it has to do with being on YouTube as well, where I feel like I wanna be able to add to the conversation for when I do talk to people about the
mhm,
books and when I do make videos. So and then just OCD in general just causes me to think about, like, any mistake and every mistake I've ever made in my life,
right.
and so I'm thinking about that instead of reading. It's kind of like a similar to ADHD thing, except
Mhm,
the thoughts are mainly, ow, negative.
okay.
Sorry, my cat
Oh,
came to say hi. Um, but yeah, so I did want to say that I feel for you on that, but and because of the family member that I grew up with, but school always came easy to me, and now that I'm in college, and I have memory issues, I'm like, "This kinda sucks."
no, I'm
Like,
sure. Yeah, yeah, that definitely would make it hard.
yeah,
Yeah, I was lucky that like so while the English stuff, like, actually like you take English class all the way through, like
yeah,
that definitely was not the easiest thing for me. I was always still like really good at like math and science and those kinds of
mhm,
things. So like I guess I at least got lucky on that front that,
Yeah.
I could take like advanced maths and stuff all the way through
Oh, yeah.
and stuff. So it kind of balanced out. But
Yeah.
yeah, English definitely was never my favorite. And I still
Yeah.
definitely like spelling is still something I'm extremely bad at. So,
Yeah, although it's kind of ironic considering that to to be able to learn another language is to learn more about your own.
mhm.
Um, I am terrible at spelling,
Okay.
but, I'm making it work, I guess. I've always been bad at spelling, I don't know why,
Mm,
but
yeah.
yeah, and I've definitely had times where I've experienced letters looking like they're flipped upside down and things like that, or, I've had, like, dyslexia of speech where I
Okay.
flip words when I talk,
Yeah.
like, flipping the P's and the B's and the S and the whatever and things like that, so, um, I wanted to talk to you about audiobooks because I feel like we have some similar thoughts and opinions on that.
Okay.
When it comes to we're talking about semantics here.
Yes, exactly.
Semantic you are not physically reading, right?
Right. Yep.
But you are consuming the story. I don't know why. Sometimes it bothers me when they're like, "I've read 10 books this month." And I'm like, "That is a lot of time that you're taking to sit there and physically read." And maybe it comes out of jealousy because, I cannot read that fast.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, and that, you you said in Philip's video that you felt at first like it was, like, cheating.
I did for the
Um,
longest time. Yep.
and I think I had similar opinions, but I definitely don't agree with my past self and feeling like that and feeling like it's
Yeah.
cheating. I feel like for my own self, I'm like, "Oh, I feel like I'm cheating by listening."
Yeah.
And I could see how maybe you felt like that because of being dyslexic and being like, "Oh, well, this is cheating for me because I still get the story, but now I'm not improving on my that modality."
Maybe. That's a good I with the audiobooks, I always that when I first started them, I did think it was weird, and I never really was like, "Does this count? Does it not count?" And then it kind of got to
Mhm.
the because I didn't use them for a while after I had thought about it because of that kind of thought process, and then eventually I was like, "Does it matter?"
Yeah,
I
it
literally
definitely
asked myself, I was like,
doesn't.
"Does it
Yeah.
really do you want to read these books? Do you wanna know what
Yeah,
happens? Or do you
exactly.
really care?" Because at the time, I was reading, Dance with Dragons, and
Okay.
I was like, "Do you wanna know what happens, or do you want to, like, not? Like,
Yeah.
what do you care how you get to know?" And I was like, "You know what? I" and so that's when I finally, was like took the plunge and went full in on the audiobooks. And I was
Yeah,
just like,
it wasn't until very recently that I decided to kind of go into, audiobooks, and I really do enjoy it, and it's like it's not like I'm not consuming the story as well. I think it's literally just the semantics and the OCD in my brain that's going, "If you're telling me you're reading this book and you're on YouTube, and you're like, 'Yes, I read this book.'" Like, sometimes it'll bother me, but it doesn't really matter. Like,
Mhm.
I'm like, "Noelle, you don't really care. It doesn't really
Right.
matter. It does
Yeah.
not affect my day
Yeah.
to day."
Yeah.
It's
Well, and it's funny, I most of the time say I read, even though I listen to almost every single book I read. I do it's
yeah,
funny. I do end up just it's just like the normal vocabulary that, you've kind of established to talk about these kinds of things. And
yeah,
I'll go back and forth, but I do think most of the time I say I read something. But I'll say I read I'll end up saying, "Yeah, I read this." It's like a 15-hour long audiobook, so it's very clear that, like, I listened to it.
yeah,
It's funny enough, I actually had a pretty interesting conversation with Joanna in one of my, in a comment section on I can't remember which video it was, and, she was showing me some or she pasted some kind of like the origin of a word about, like,
mm,
where the word reading comes from and some stuff, and I think in her Discord, they also had, like, a really long, like, intricate conversation in it, and so I do think it's like an interesting conversation on like
definitely.
obviously words also change over time. So, we know most people, if you say you read something, they're the actual act of like looking at something and reading it. And I think
Yeah,
even if you Google like the dictionary definition of it right now, it's that. But I think part of the discussion is like, will that change over time? And
mm,
also, like, are we also discounting somebody, let's say somebody who's blind and uses Braille? Like, technically, they're
Right.
not reading in the dictionary definition way, but are we
Mm.
like, not that I think any of us here are really discrediting listening to audiobooks or anything, but
Yeah.
like somebody who uses Braille or something, are we discrediting them by saying, well, you didn't actually read it? But yeah,
Right.
I think it's kind of like an interesting, it's one of my favorite conversations because I think as long as if you're coming at it as like not trying to be rude about it, I think it's a very
No.
interesting thing to like figure out where certain things fall and how society
Yeah.
maybe is going to look at some of these things as they
Yeah.
go on.
I think maybe I look at it from a linguist perspective because there's 3 different modalities, and it's reading, listening, and writing within a language.
Hmm.
And I've taken linguistics classes, and, when I was in the Marine Corps, that's actually what I was studying Chinese when I was in the Marine Corps.
Mm, okay.
And, I it's like one of those things where we shouldn't even care because if you really get into a linguistics textbook, by the middle of the book, they're like, "This is arbitrary. This doesn't
Yes.
matter." And I'm
Right.
like, "Yes, everything in language is arbitrary, thank you. Why am I taking this class?"
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting conversation. It's something that I feel like I haven't got tired of hearing. But when I was listening to Richard and Austin's video actually today where they were talking about some hot takes, and they said, "Well, if a child is getting a book read to them from their parent, are they reading the book? Have they read the book?" And I feel like that I don't know. But at the same time, when I'm in the car driving, my husband will read my book to me when I'm driving when I don't wanna listen to any music and, like, I don't have Audible, so
Hmm.
he'll read it to me. And, maybe I'll mention in my video and be like, "Oh, yes, for, like, 2 chapters, my husband read it to me," but it doesn't really matter,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's where it comes down to. I still am kind of on the train of like, if you like, if you're not actually like in a book or e-reader on a screen, whatever, actually reading it, it's not technically reading, but I don't
Yes,
care. Like, I
yes.
don't really care. Because I always
I'm
think it's the
the
same
same
kind
way.
of, yeah, the same kind of thing is like, if you're on a plane and the pilot makes an announcement and then you said, did you read the announcement? Well,
That's a good way
no.
to
Yeah,
look at it.
and but like I said, I don't think it matters in the end.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some, like, neural pathways that are developed differently. I'm sure there are between
Yeah.
listening and reading and all of those kinds of things. But, like, it always, especially now, like, I'm reading, like, fantasy books and sci-fi
Yeah.
books. Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Does it
Exactly.
matter?
Yeah.
No, not
Yeah.
really. You know.
I, like I do the same thing with the Bible. That's actually, like, the first audiobook that I've read. It's, like,
Mm,
sometimes when
okay.
'cause with OCD, it's a big part that I wanna make a big thing about my channel because it's been very hard, like, living with it, and,
Mhm,
um, I didn't know what it even was. I just knew I had an intense anxiety. Anyway, so when I don't want there to be silence, I need something to fill the space. Audiobooks are great for that. I would not
oh,
wanna
yeah.
take that away from anybody,
Oh, yeah.
and, when I'm listening to scripture, like, it really helps, like, calm me down and just kind of be in that, and I think that fantasy books are very great for the mind and the creativity and empathy and just being able to calm yourself, and even if there are intense things going on in the story, you're escaping from your reality or at least thinking on something instead of constantly worrying about the day to day. And so I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to take that away from anybody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely no gatekeeping is happening here
No,
for me.
no.
And
I
I think one thing that I like about this conversation is I am somebody who really only uses audiobooks because I
yeah,
feel like
there's nothing
sometimes,
wrong with that.
I feel like some people really put up their guard sometimes, especially
Mhm.
if it's coming from somebody who they feel like doesn't even want to understand the point they're making or whatever. And to
Yeah.
me, it's like I'm like that perfect person because I'm like, no, I read like 3 physical books a year. I am with you. I am an audiobook person, right?
Mhm.
And so I don't know. It's always kind of a fun conversation to have.
Yeah. I like that. I think that also we're like people are meant to be multifaceted. Like we're not meant to just be stagnant all the time, just
Yeah.
sitting down and reading. Like I have multiple hobbies. I used to do a lot more when I had the resources, but, like, I when I was talking about competitions and stuff, I love doing archery. I love shooting for air rifle, and things like that. I love working out, and so it's great to be able to listen to a story because you can't really like hold up a book where you're
Right.
like lifting weights or go to the
Yeah.
gym with your Kindle unless you're on the treadmill or the stair climber, and even
Yeah.
then, it's rough.
I know Jake does. I don't know if you know Jake from Nerd Level Rising, but that's what he
Yeah,
does.
I started watching his
He
channel recently as well,
oh
yeah.
yeah, he's a super nice guy. But he was like, yeah, I'll read on the treadmill when I'm doing cardio, and I'm like, man, that's crazy to me. I don't know how you can like actually read on
I
something.
I, like, hobble when I walk, so I'd be like trying
Yeah,
to read.
yeah.
No, I can't focus on I already skip around when I read sometimes on accident. Like, I'm
Mm.
reading and something big's about to happen, and I look at the bottom of the page, I'm like, "No!"
No,
Can't do that on audiobook, which is really
no.
nice.
Yeah, he
That's really
can't. Yeah.
nice. Back to the point of because I just thought about this, and maybe it's an ignorant point to make, but to say that you're taking away reading from someone who is blind, I mean, like, then would you say that a non-hearing person listened to a song by reading the lyrics?
That's a
Or
great
maybe feeling
question.
the music?
Yeah, I think that's where some of those edge cases are like can be a good way to like
Yeah,
examine what we think and actually feel about something.
yeah,
Uh, but like I said, I wouldn't like I to me it's all the same, right? So like whether
right,
you feel I've heard of deaf people going to concerts and they have, they can feel the vibrations from the music and everything.
exactly.
Like to
Mhm,
me, that's
and the
it's the
sign
same.
interpreters there and
Yes,
everything too.
yes. Yeah,
I
to
love
me it's
watching them. They're always,
they
like,
get
into
into
it.
it.
Yeah.
They get into it. They're happy to be out there. But yeah, to me, it's just like, who am I to like tell them that what they're doing isn't
Yeah,
this
it's
like
like
good enough or the same or it's like
yeah,
doesn't matter. That's where it comes back to like, does it really matter? There's so many
exactly,
things that I think we
exactly.
spend a lot of time and effort on that like don't matter.
Doesn't
So it's
matter.
like whatever,
Exactly,
you
yeah, no,
know?
like, we're not trying to be nihilistic, but at the same time, like, does
Right.
it matter now?
Exactly.
No, it
Exactly.
doesn't. Do we need to spend that much brain power on this when we could be
Right.
doing something else?
Sure. And I
No,
mean,
I'm
sometimes it's just
all
fun to
about
like have those kinds of conversations, but as long
yeah.
as you don't want to take everything so serious.
No, I agree 110%.
Yeah.
So, I have a couple of random questions for you.
Okay.
Just fun, personal, whatever. Um, if we get into media a little bit,
Okay.
sports, you said you like football.
Hmm.
You liked playing football. Do you like watching football as well, or
Yeah.
is that
Yes.
okay.
Yes. I
So, big football fan. You just talked about the Steelers earlier, so is that your
yes.
team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm actually from where the Steelers have their training camp every year.
Oh, that's
So
so cool.
I'm deep in the Steelers country.
Okay.
But yeah, during the NFL season, my reading drops.
Yeah,
Um, everything
everything drops.
I spend a lot of time watching football. I'm more of an NFL guy, but I still pay
Okay.
plenty of attention to college.
Yeah.
And it's really because it's hard to just tell everybody to leave you alone for 2 days so you can watch football. It's like I can justify like one time slot on Sunday to be like, yeah, I'm watching the
Mhm.
Steelers game. Don't bother me. It's really hard to be like, hey, I'm watching football for 24 hours over the next 2 days. Don't bother me. Because if not, that's probably what I'd be doing. My
Yeah.
computer desk is a three monitors, and
Oh,
I'll
wow.
have a game on each monitor. And I'll have
Oh,
like
geez.
my main game, then two side games going. So,
I think that is understandable for someone who has played because you have a completely different perspective on the game.
mhm.
You know the different techniques that there are, and you're watching it, and it's like you're not just watching football, you're analyzing football. Like,
Yeah,
that is a
I
completely
get into
different
it a little
you
bit.
know?
I like
Yeah.
it's really nerdy, but I like will watch film of stuff to like understand what actually happened on a play and like look at it's called 22 film. It's like the film that like the team would actually watch to like because like the view you watch on for regular TV is not like the best
Mhm.
view to like see what's happening because one you can't
Yeah.
even see the whole field and the way that it looks at the line since it's down the line and not behind it,
Yeah.
you can't see some of the
Can't
blocking
see, like,
schemes and
bird's
stuff.
eye, like,
Yeah,
view.
and so like I'll go and watch like all 22 and like stuff like that. So it's a little much sometimes, but it's fun.
You like what you like. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm I'm nerdy about other things. So like, I mean, I remember when I started getting to into when I get into different hobbies, I watch videos constantly on those things. So
Hmm.
like books have been my thing for a while and I think it's books is here to stay. But I
Okay.
did have a Valorant phase and I was not good at
Oh,
it by any means.
what was your rank?
But I d I was not even ranked. I was
Oh,
just
okay.
playing for
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
Like I didn't have that much time. I was still in the Marine Corps at the time.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I would watch videos on it all the time, trying to understand the game and trying to understand how to be better
Mm.
and things like that, and
I've played a lot of Valorant, so
I remember you talking about that. I think it
yeah,
was also your live stream
probably. It
about
probably
Valorant
was,
because I
yeah.
asked you about video games because
Yes.
I'm really into Call of Duty Black Ops 6 now.
Okay. Man, I haven't
Um,
played Call of Duty in a while, but
Black Ops 6 is actually really good. So the first
okay.
one I ever played was Ghosts,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's because I didn't have a gaming system, like, even though I'd beg my parents, I didn't have it
Mhm.
until Xbox 360.
Okay.
So we went from, like, PlayStation 2
Mhm.
to the Wii to Xbox 360,
Okay.
and so I would play that, but I was so bad. I was terrible,
Okay.
and then I remember I played Advanced Warfare, and I hated it. I hated the mechanics of that game. I'm like, "Let me go to back to Ghost," but then
Mhm.
nobody's playing it, and
Right.
I'm very terrible about video games. Like, I have a very weird perspective on it where, like, I don't wanna finish video games if I really like them,
Oh, okay.
and when it comes to first person shooters, I don't play the campaigns.
Yeah.
However, my husband was playing the campaign of Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and it looks really fun. Like, it goes into a whole psychological, like, sort of almost like a thriller sort
Okay.
of thing where this guy's in this building, and there's some sort of, I don't know, medicine or something in the air, and there are these mannequins that follow him, but they're, like, about to kill him. It's crazy, but
Interesting.
it's
Okay.
really good. It sounds really good, but I don't finish campaigns of, like, I did play Halo. Halo Reach was the only campaign I have ever finished in my
Okay.
life, and, like, I'm still playing Hogwarts Legacy. All that to say, I have a hard time wanting to finish things because I'm like, I never want them to end if I really
Sh
like them.
Sure.
So
Yep.
Hogwarts Legacy, I'm like, I could tell myself that I wanna do every, what is it? I wanna say every class, every house, but it's gonna be essentially the same game every time with
Right.
minor changes.
Yeah.
What is your house, by the way? I feel
Gryffindor.
like Gryffindor? Okay. Could you guess
Yep.
what mine is?
Mm, I was leaning towards Ravenclaw because of the language stuff, and that feels like one of those, but I don't know, maybe you're gonna surprise me and say, like, Slytherin or something.
No,
No?
I'm a Gryffindor as well.
Okay, okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense. That would have been my, like, if I was gonna rank them, it would have been Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Slytherin, but that's why. Yeah.
yeah. My husband is a Ravenclaw, so
Oh, okay.
he's a smart one. Um, so we talked about sports a little bit. NASCAR.
Yes.
Talked about this on the live stream
Uh-huh.
because I do not meet many people who also grew up with NASCAR. So my dad used to race. He didn't race in NASCAR,
Okay.
but he raced
But
local races
sure.
with my uncle, and so
Yep.
I grew up with that kind of stuff. So it made me really like it. And then I would watch NASCAR because my dad would watch it. I don't watch it
Mhm.
anymore, but I don't have cable, so
Okay, yeah.
need for it. But did you have a favorite person?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was hard not to be a Junior fan, but also, like, Tony Stewart. Liked Tony
Okay.
Stewart a lot growing up. Those were probably, like, the 2 that I paid the most attention to.
Yeah.
I can remember hating, like, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. And yeah, I can remember just, like, despising both of them.
Jeff Gordon was my dad's favorite.
Okay.
Jimmy Johnson, 48,
Yep.
mine
Oh,
since I was a
okay.
little kid. Since I was
Yep.
like,
Yeah, so
he's retired now, so it's fine.
is he still doing F1?
Um, Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah,
I
he left NASCAR and then was doing, like,
he
F1
was
races,
doing, like he
I
was doing,
thought.
like, some announcing and stuff too, I think, during
I'm
that.
sure he was, but I thought he was doing, like, part-time F1 racing as well.
I have no idea. I
No,
have,
I don't pay attention to
since
F1, so
fallen off. Yeah,
Okay,
since
yeah.
fallen off, like, NASCAR and everything, but it was really funny 'cause my dad's favorite was always Jeff Gordon, and then mine was
That's funny.
and then, my dad and I, when I moved to North Carolina and he came to visit, we went to the races
Mm,
locally,
mhm.
and it was so fun, like, I feel like people there's a certain appreciation for it, especially local. I feel like
Yeah,
it's really,
yeah,
really nice and really cool, and, um, it sucks, but it's also interesting when the cars get in wrecks and they're on fire,
yes. Yeah,
and I'm,
yeah,
like, so scared for them, but it's also,
yeah,
like, interesting to watch
it's
at the same time.
yeah, it's like you can't not like, it's that macabre part of you that's like, "I kinda wanna see
Yes.
one,"
Mhm.
'cause I've gone to, uh, I don't know, a handful of races at this point just 'cause I'm so close to the track, and,
Mm.
it's a very interesting thing to, like, feel and experience in person. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, you see it on TV, but you like, when those cars go by at whatever they hit at the speedway is, like, 1 almost 200. I mean,
Yeah.
like, the feel of those cars going by is
The smell.
yeah, it is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't realize how loud some of the stuff is. Even like, I don't know if you've gone to any of the drag strip stuff that they have over there now. Um, there's a 4 wide drag strip right there, and, those are on another level also. Just like
Mm.
you feel like your bones vibrating 'cause it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's 4 wide, each of them's making like 10,000 horsepower is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I know I've been to all sorts of different kinds of races, like, growing up. I couldn't
Mhm.
tell you what they're called,
Okay.
but yeah. So I do have some other random questions, which is favorite cartoons now
Okay.
and or growing up. So, on accident, I made these questions exactly how you format your weekly content
No,
'cause now I'm
that
like, "Okay, media now."
no, that's perfect. So if you wanna count, like, Invincible right now as a cartoon,
Okay.
that
Yeah, adult
that has
cartoon,
been
right?
yeah, it's been that show is fantastic. I absolutely love
I've
it.
heard a lot about it. I
It's
have
it's
not,
super good.
is it
I'm
super
not finished
new
with
or
the yeah, I'm not finished with the most recent season just yet. I think I have 2 episodes left, but it is I mean, that is one of my favorite shows right now. If you're gonna go back in time a little bit to when I was growing up, like Codename Kids Next Door,
those
uh,
so good.
yeah, Courage the Cowardly Dog. I was more of a Cartoon Network kid. I wasn't like a
Scary
Disney
too.
or Nickelodeon kid too much other than like, I mean, some of the Rugrats and stuff when I was like really little. But a
Yeah,
lot of any of the Cartoon Network stuff was like what I really watched growing up as far as any of that goes. And then but yeah, the as far as like and then anime is a whole different kind of conversation where,
that's true. I'm
um
also interested in that though, so I'm glad you brought it up.
yeah, so, like, Naruto is super high up there for me.
You're reading it now, right?
Boruto I'm reading, which is like the
Boruto.
continuation of
Oh,
Naruto.
wow.
Yeah.
Naruto's really long too, isn't it?
The anime is 720 episodes, or it's like 10 days of watch time. Um, if you watch all the filler, which I did for some reason. I don't know why I watched all the filler, but I did. So there
You
yeah,
gotta
but
know,
then
you gotta know.
looking back, I really didn't need to, but, I did it. What else? But yeah, so I'm reading Boruto now, which is like the continuation
Okay,
after the end of, Naruto Shippuden. Um,
okay.
yeah.
Do you Oh, sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
Do you know who Ice Spice is?
Ice Spice, the rapper singer chick? Yeah.
Do you know the memes about, like, her music? Have you heard any of her music?
I've heard some of it, but, like, she's, like, super into anime and stuff, right?
I'm not sure, but I
Oh,
do
okay.
have something to send you
Okay.
because my husband sent it to me, and it has to do with Vegeta.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I love I am currently I just read through Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which, some people like to just say that's all just Dragon Ball, but whatever. And then I'm currently reading Dragon Ball Super
okay. I
right
never
now.
got to Dragon Ball as a kid. I
Ooh,
feel like
that's
I was always surrounded by it, like, people
mhm.
who liked
Oh,
it,
it's
but
impossible to escape, right?
yeah, I don't know, I felt like it was more of a boy show, so I didn't watch it, but, like, I at the same time, like, I was watching, um I don't know, if Futurama and
Hmm.
Boondocks and, like, all
Yep.
this other kinda stuff that's I guess you could call it boy shows too, like, the more so leaning on that side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, Dragon Ball is definitely one of those ones that, like, if you're into anime and stuff now, I always tell people you should go back and watch it because it laid the groundwork for so many of the shonen we like today. And
I
so much stuff gets pulled from. It'd be like, reading modern fantasy and deciding not to give Lord of the Rings a try, even if you end up not liking it. You can see, like, it's like that grandfather of, and I'm sure there's more. Like, I'm not some kind of
Yeah.
manga anime historian. I'm sure there's something that wasn't Dragon Ball was inspired on. Like, that's how,
Mhm.
just like Tolkien was inspired by all these fairy tales and stuff, right? But
Yeah.
like, for a lot of people, I'm like, you need to watch Dragon Ball to see some of the tropes that are just, being implored in Dragon Ball that are still being implored today.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good pitch for me because I'm very much a person who is an old soul and likes to go back in time and see where things came from, and,
Yeah.
like, I have a special edition Lord of the Rings right here that I
Yeah.
just got recently that it's my favorite edition of Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It is
Which one is that?
it's like this box set, it's got these, like,
Oh, I
crazy
have not seen that one
ones.
before.
And
No.
when I saw it, I just fell in love with the art, just the older, fantastical sort of
Oh, yeah, that looks
art
awesome.
that's there.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
It was
That's a good set for sure.
expensive, but worth it in my opinion because I loved it, and I do wanna
Yeah.
get into Tad Williams when I can,
Yeah.
uh, and just kinda go back in time and see who laid the foundations of these sort of things. Like, I wanna go back and read Narnia by C.S. Lewis and see where kind of some of the YA
Mhm.
and things like that came from,
Yeah.
because that kinda stuff is super interesting to me. So,
Yeah.
as I'm getting into anime and manga now as an adult, I was into it when I was a kid, stopped for, like, when I got in high school, and then
Mhm.
started again, like, with reading One Piece
Okay.
is where I kind of began that journey, and it was, my first channel where, it got taken over by One Piece fans.
Yes.
So I would make videos, and I was like, "Okay, convince me to read, you know, this." I really got convinced to read One Piece because of the community and the people in my comments, and they were giving me so many thoughtful things, like, so many so many things to think about, so many thoughtful comments, and I was like, "Okay, if this is the fan base for this, it has to be good."
That is a dedicated fan base.
It is. It is so extremely dedicated. So
Yep.
I started making One Piece videos, and then when I would make a video about when I made my video about Game of Thrones, it was like 300, and everything else is like 3,000, and I'm like, "So none of you
Yeah.
guys want to talk about fantasy books." So I just made a
No.
second channel, and yeah, of my 2,330 subscribers over there, I only have 70 on this one, and it's so funny, but
Yeah.
I love One Piece, and I think I would love shonen as a whole, and that it would be
Yeah.
very interesting to go back and yeah, that's a great pitch for Dragon Ball for me because I've never seen any sort of interest in it. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I think that, like I said, to me, and once again, not some kind of expert historian here, but like when I read other shonen and stuff, I'm just like, oh, I see the influences all over the place,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's definitely, um, a great part of, like, media and kind of, like, the times we're in now is to be able to do that sort of thing and
Oh, yeah.
do it kind of with ease.
Yeah.
And so, a question that just left me, it was there. Would you say that it's better to read or watch Dragon Ball?
That's a good question. There is something very nostalgic about the anime itself, but I, for the most part, have kind of stopped watching anime and have
Me
really only been reading manga because I can. It's a time thing. It's like I don't know when I would sit down and watch a lot of the stuff that I'm reading, so it's a lot
Mhm.
easier for me to just read it, even if it's not necessarily as good. There is with Dragon Ball in particular, there's definitely like some positives to watching it, because I do think that that animation style is so iconic with Dragon Ball in particular, that
Yeah.
you might want to kind of do both a little bit, like read some, watch some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people have told me about One Piece too. And I also like reading manga a lot more
Hmm.
than watching the anime because of the time. It's so
Yeah.
much quicker for me to sit down and read it. And then there's something special about like holding the artwork in your hands. Because I
Hmm.
started off by reading it online and reading it on my
Okay.
Kindle.
Yeah.
And then now I have the physical copies of One Piece, which is very scary to start owning manga because
I've
once you
gone.
start, you
I
can't
know.
stop.
I've gone all. I stopped. Thankfully, like you can basically see my whole manga collection up here.
Yep.
And that's because I was like, this is gonna get way out of hand, and
Yeah.
so it's way cheaper to just have like a $2 a month subscription to Shonen Jump and be able to
So
read. Yeah, to just be able to read as much as I want than buying everything at once. And then I was like, I'm not gonna have room for all of this. So
yeah, true. I
yeah,
do have Vagabond back there. Have you read it?
yes, I have.
Okay.
Yep,
Have you read all of it
yep,
or
yeah.
okay, I
Well,
have
no,
not
it's not
started
finished.
yet.
So
Yeah, it
yeah, probably never will be if you ask me.
yeah,
But there's like an ending um, that to me was good enough. Actually, there's like an art gallery that he did that. Sure, you miss some of the like the finer, intricate details of what happened with certain things, but like it gives you the closure that you would probably want after getting as far into it. I think it's really good. I think it's worth reading for sure if you're like interested in it, but I don't know where it would rank for me, but it is really good.
okay.
Yeah.
It was highly recommended by my husband, and I think
Okay.
that the thought of a historical fiction in a manga form about a like the most famous samurai
Hmm.
is so exciting to me, and it's out of my comfort zone because I'm not exactly a historical fiction reader. The only one I don't think I've read any historical fiction. I've read a literary fiction, which is Crime and Punishment, which is old, and
Uh huh.
I didn't really like it, but
Okay.
that's like one of my husband's favorite books. That's the Ravenclaw. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where it comes in.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to kind of backtrack, I would agree with you for favorite cartoons. I was definitely a Cartoon Network kid, but I was also a Boomerang kid. So
Okay. Yeah.
all of the stuff like my grandparents and my parents like to watch, Tom and Jerry,
Yep.
like Pink Panther was one of my favorites growing up. And then I liked stuff of my time, I guess, like Care Bears and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I was big on Cartoon Network as well. Um, and anime, actually, the first one I ever watched, I think, is very not popular, but it's Kaleido Star,
I
which
don't
is
know that one.
had on
Okay.
her computer. I think
Okay.
I think she tactically acquired it. I'm not exactly sure, but
Sure.
I remember like some foundational memories for me is me and my sister sitting at my mom's computer desk and watching Kaleido Star, which is
Ah, that's cool.
it's like a I guess you would call it shoujin because I think
Okay.
that's a female version of shonen,
Okay.
if I can remember properly, but it's like a 90s anime. It's
Sure.
really good. I thought it was really cute, and then, like, Fruits Basket was also very foundational for me.
Okay.
Fullmetal Alchemist, also, me and my sister watched,
Okay.
um, growing up, not the Brotherhood. That came
The
out
original one.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone says the Brotherhood is better. I don't know. I
That's
think I'll read it eventually.
that's what I've heard. I've heard Brotherhood is one of the best ever. So
I don't even
I
know the
haven't. Well,
difference.
I haven't watched it. I don't either. Haven't watched it. I haven't read it. It's one of those ones that it's like everyone talks so great about it, and I'm just like, I. It's never called to me. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, on the topic of media, favorite shows right now, or maybe some foundational ones, and also movies.
So okay, my favorite movie is Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim, haven't seen it.
Okay, it's
Sorry.
giant. It's giant monsters fighting giant robots. It's not like some cinematic masterpiece or anything, but it's what I want every Godzilla movie to be, where it's just like, hey, here's the giant robots. Hey, here's the giant monsters. They're gonna fight, and it's like, great. Oh, that's what the movie actually is. Awesome, fantastic. That's what I'm here for. And unlike every Godzilla movie where they're like, we're here to make you care about the people, and it's like, I don't care about the people. I want that giant lizard to like do stuff. Um, so that's Dune Part 2, super high up there probably
So
for
good.
me. It was, and I saw it in IMAX, like the whole, like best theater, biggest screen, best audio that we could go see it at, because it just, it looked like it needed it, and it was so worth it. So that's super high up there.
Yeah.
As far as
Those
TV
movies are
shows
so good.
go, that's a good question. Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, The
I had a
Boys.
feeling you'd be a Sopranos person.
Yeah, The
I don't know why.
Sopranos.
I was like,
Yeah. No, and I didn't watch that until last year. Maybe I
I still
watched The
haven't seen it.
Sopranos. It's, it holds up surprisingly well. There's definitely some things where it's like the it makes me laugh when they're like using certain phones, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally like a 90s phone and like stuff like that, or like that's a 90s
Flip.
fridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so like, but yeah, I think it held up really well and is still really good. Especially those first like 3 seasons are like really, really good. And I still think the rest of it is still very, very good, but I think it loses like what it was trying. Like, I don't know if they knew exactly where it was going after the
Yeah.
first couple of seasons, but it's still like super, super good. Um, just recently watched Shogun. That was really good.
Okay.
So yeah, those are, and then like I like it's
Reba.
like The Office and Reba, and yeah, those
I like
kinds of
Reba
things.
a lot. That's one of
Okay.
the shows I kind of like within the same vein, like would grow up with watching at my grandma's house.
Hmm.
Roseanne, Reba, Golden Girls. I love
Okay.
Girls, but continue.
Yeah. No, that's those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Okay.
I've never been like the biggest TV or movie person.
I'm not
So
either. I
yeah.
I know growing up and still today, people are like, "Oh, this movie. Oh, this quote from this thing." And I'm like, "The what?"
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yep.
For me, my favorite show used to be How I Met Your Mother. I
Oh, okay.
watched that
I like that one.
religiously.
Yep.
I started watching it when I was in 6th grade, I
Okay.
think. The show finished, and someone told me the ending,
And
and I
you
didn't
don't.
watch the whole last season for 7 years.
Wow.
I rewatched season 1 through 8.
Hmm.
Almost every day, I would rewatch episodes.
Hmm.
To where when I went to boot camp, I was trying to picture those episodes in my mind, so I wasn't thinking about what was going on. I loved that show so much, and now I can't watch it. I mean, I know everything in
So
that show, and
do you
I did
hate the ending?
I, uh, dislike it strongly.
Okay.
The last 2 episodes
Hmm.
almost ruined the show for me
Okay.
because there are 2 people who are absolutely meant for each other, and then they don't end up together. But at the same time, okay, I think to make the decision that they made, they needed another season to fully flesh it out
See,
because they
that's where I
last 2
think.
episodes, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but what if maybe you like killed off a character instead and then made a whole 'nother season and then you have the coming together of certain couple.
Yeah. Yeah. So I totally understand why, especially if you were watching it like as a fan with not being able to binge it, because I just binged it when I watched it. I could just, there was no
Oh,
waiting or
yeah.
anything for it. I totally get why people don't like the ending, but I think but I think it's only a pacing issue. I think if it
I think
wasn't
it's a
just
pacing issue
crammed
too.
the way it was, that people would be more okay with it.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
Based off
exactly.
the beginning of the series, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for it to end the way it did, but I agree with you. The pacing was absolutely
Yeah,
trash.
yeah,
But
exactly.
now I would say I probably have a top 2 favorite shows, and it's Sweet Magnolias, which is
Okay,
on Netflix, which
okay,
is, um, I don't know how to describe it. It's a lot of drama,
okay,
really. And then I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I
okay.
love that show so
I haven't
much.
watched that one.
Highly recommend. I am not a dry humor person,
Hmm.
but
But
it's got a good amount of dryness,
okay.
and you will see a lot of jokes coming,
Hmm.
and then you won't see a lot of jokes coming. But no matter what, it is hilarious, and the character growth is also great, and there's
Okay.
also some important life lessons that are thrown into there and things like that, which I think is
Sure.
great.
Were you ever an Office person or Parks and Rec? Either of those? No? I
My
love both of
husband,
those ones.
he wants me to watch Parks and Rec. Um, I think that as I've gotten older, I'm more into the dryness of humor,
Mhm.
but, um, even a couple years ago, I was like, "Mm-mm, can't do dry humor at all,
Okay.
hate it," and
Yeah.
now I think I'm more open to it and seeing what it's all about. I watched some of the Community, is that what it's called? Something like that? I did
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like it.
I haven't watched that one, so I don't yeah.
Did not like it, but
Okay.
I don't know if that's within this similar sort of vibe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually.
Movies, though, one of the movies that sticks with me and that I always like to say is my favorite movie is Goodfellas.
Okay.
Like, over The Godfather series, I guess you could call it, 'cause
Yeah.
there's 3 movies.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
I think I watched that movie when I was 16, and the soundtrack was amazing, and I already knew the songs, like, coming into it because of the
Mhm.
old soul type of whatever, and I don't know, it was very intriguing, and I just loved that movie. And then it was also Grown Ups for a really long time. It was the
Okay.
first Grown Ups. Not so
Okay.
much anymore, it's not as much of the humor that I'm interested in
Yeah.
now, but I guess as a probably watched it too young kid, like, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Goodfellas is probably up there for me.
Okay.
I I love the Dune movies too.
Yeah, those
I think
Dune
that
movies were great. Yeah.
they make the experience of reading the book that much better, and excuse me, sorry, I would like to reread the book at some time because didn't I wasn't super interested in it for the first 50%. When we get to the second
Yeah.
50%, and it's a lot
Okay.
better.
Yeah, it took me a while to get into it, and I think part of the writing style, the way you threw
Yeah,
in this, like, omnipresent, like, kind of weird narrative that's going on where you're like, know a bunch of stuff, it's definitely a little bit jarring, but by the time I was done with it, I really liked that book, and I think if I read it
yeah,
again, which I normally don't reread books, but I think if
yeah,
I did read it, I think I would like it even more. I have thought about continuing on with the next couple of books,
yeah.
but I haven't done it yet.
I've heard about a lot of things about
I have
the
heard.
next books, and
Yeah.
I would be really interested to see the change that comes of I think it's Dune Messiah is the second one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be really interested because I kind of know the character change. I don't know what happens, but I know the character change, and I think
Mhm.
it's 'cause Mike has talked about it a lot, and
Mhm.
I've watched so many of his videos, so I've heard him talk about that a lot, so,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, do you have any, because I know we're about to hit an hour and 30 minutes, do you have any closing things that you wanna, hit on? Any things you wanna ask me? I don't know.
Well, I do just wanna say thank you for
Oh,
having me on.
absolutely.
I always appreciate it. Like I said, I really do enjoy doing these and just getting to talk with people. So it's always an honor when somebody, invites me on to do something like this. I do wanna say, thank you very much. And I
Oh,
do have a question. What do you so you said you're listening to Fourth Wing right now. What else are you reading? I know I saw you just published a Witcher video.
I did just read The Last Wish,
Mhm.
and I actually really enjoyed it,
Okay.
and I was a little nervous to read it because I thought that, because I've seen some of Bookborne's stuff on it, I thought it was gonna be a bit more on the womanizer side, a bit more sexist, or that it would be graphic in terms of intimate scenes,
Mhm.
which I really do not like in books or
Okay.
movies or anything like that. It's just it is a, for context, I do have PTSD, so there are, things that I don't really after that, I'm just like, "Yeah, no, I'm good."
Yeah.
But, so that I read recently. I am on see, I have a couple books back here, like, my favorite books are back here, basically,
Mhm.
and then, I'm currently reading this. I just got to volume 25 of One
Oh, okay.
Piece.
Okay, nice.
Loving it, so far. Um, I am reading Ruin by John Gwynne.
Okay.
I started the audiobook there's a lot of things happening here. I started the audiobook of 1984 because Florida education sucks, and I didn't have a literature class in my high school when I got to be a senior, so I took all AP and honors classes, and that's not even saying anything for the school that I went to. It was basically like, those are normal classes.
Mhm.
If you go to actual normal classes, you literally don't do anything because of the way that the school system was, the way that the principal was at the time. She made it to where the lowest grade you can get is a 59, even by doing nothing. So, unfortunately, the area I was in, a lot of people suffered from poverty, and a lot of people suffered from neglect from parents. And all that being said, to say the normal classes, the non-AP and non-honors classes, nothing much was being taught, nothing much was being done
Mhm.
because the children made it so hard for the teachers, and I'm not blaming the children for that either, because I wouldn't say that, I was always the best student or whatever,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, so when it came to my senior year and they're like, "Okay, you have 2 options. You can take English Comp 1 and 2," which I already had credit for because I passed the AP test. Only AP test I ever didn't absolutely bomb. Um, and you can have the same teacher, which I really loved. He's a great teacher. Or you can have a non-honors literature class. And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm taking Comp 1 and 2." And
Yeah.
I did, and I don't regret that at all. It was a great class. Um, what else am I think that's oh, I just read Freyren Volume 1, and I
Oh,
bought
okay.
2 and 3.
Oh, nice.
So,
Okay.
I'm also getting into that. I absolutely love the way that it is set out to where I didn't know what to expect going into it, but the way that you're seeing a point of view from an elf and scenes kind of go by in a flash, like, you have, "Oh, here's the scenes from her life."
Yep.
And then here is this kind of more monumental moment, and it's like, "Okay, this is exactly how she's viewing her life." And I
Yep.
feel like that is done so well, and
Yeah,
it's
it's fantastic.
emotional,
Yep.
but the topics aren't too, um they are handled not lightly, but they're handled well. The
Mhm.
topics of, a lot more, harder things. I do wanna read the 2nd book of A Song of Ice and Fire once I finish, The Faithful and the Fallen.
Okay.
Then I just kinda wanna go straight into finishing A Song of Ice and Fire because once I had finished the 1st book and then went on to read something else and then tried to go back to the 2nd book, I was like, "I need the cliff notes of the 1st book right now
Okay.
because there
Yep.
was so many things happening." I think it's better for me to just, like, push through the rest of the
All the way
series
through. Yeah.
while reading
Yeah.
manga on the side. That would probably help. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that
Yeah,
answered
that's
your
definitely
question.
that is definitely an expansive series, so
Yeah, and I'm very excited to talk with people about it. I mean, that's my favorite part of reading is I'm reading and I'm thinking about the conversations I'm gonna have with people and about the things
yeah.
I'm gonna be able to say and theorize and things like that, and I think that that is so exciting about A Song of Ice and Fire. That actually makes me really excited to go into it is that it isn't finished. So I can
Mm,
go and talk to people about what are our theories that,
yeah.
you know, how is it going to be finished? I don't know. But, yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to, come talk with me, and, yeah, it was a really great chat. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
And to everyone who is watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Um, I'm sure you're already subscribed to Tom Orange, and if you're not, I don't know what you're doing. Go over there and subscribe, and, please subscribe here as well, and, yeah, God bless. And recording.